Welcome back to the show, Mr. Chairman.
Well, back again.
As always, Mr. Chairman, the inflation graph that was given to us today at the Wives Club meeting for officers may look nice, as the individual civilian was trying to make it smooth and make us feel more comfortable. There were 400 plus women in the auditorium, and we all came to the final question: who's going to pay the bills? Who's going to pay our groceries when we're stuck on a pay scale and the cost of food keeps rising? And the gentleman said the cost of food is not dependent on what we, the government, have to say. Mr. Chairman, what's the problem here? Is it a lack of communication from Washington? Do they really care about what's going on out here? Because they themselves don't shop in the grocery stores. They just order it in like carry-out food. And who cares to them? They don't care who pays the bill.
Well, they know what inflation is. They don't care what you think. They don't care whether you have to scrimp and scrape to eat. It's just non-caring. For a long, long time, unfortunately, the executive office of our government has not cared much for the military or for the people who live in the United States in general. I mean, they go and do what they want to do. The politicians are all getting paid off. If it's not lobbyists, it's campaign contributions. And if you look at the places where they get their money, you see what legislation gets passed. And it's a very, very bad system. But they all get theirs. And they get their raises, but nobody else does. And so that's the way it's been, and I'm afraid it might continue to be that way. By those comments by that gentleman, I don't think they're very encouraging. And, they've frozen Social Security for 3 years. How dare they? I mean, the average Social Security payout's about $1,200 a month. They get a little bit more than that. And it should be like $3,200 a month, because they lie about the figures. The figures are called COLA, cost of living allowance. And they've just lost their moorings totally in Washington. It's always been bad, but it just gets worse.
Mr. Chairman, as the housing market enters the crucial spring selling here in California, I am warned that things are going to get worse, as the most prevalent signs of the warning, instead of seeing sold, I see bank-owned. Call area code 209-522 ... The 30-year mortgage rate soared to an 8-month high just yesterday at 5.21% for me as a real estate broker. Foreclosed, or distressed properties and homes which have a strong negative influence on my prices are flirting with housing crisis at this peak. Even the commercial properties are taking a nosedive. Is anybody out there telling the truth, or are they just trying to make it to the next guy, leave it for the next guy? Are they just trying to leave it to the next guy to solve the problem that's been growing for 4 years?
Well, we projected last November that the 10-year note would be 5% by the end of the year. And that means 6.25 to a half 30-year fixed-rate mortgages. So it's all there, and if I'm wrong and it only goes to 4.5, it's still bad. And you've got all the shadow inventory that banks and other lenders have. They don't want to put it on the market because it'll depress prices even more. And right now they're talking about 8.6 months in inventory. 4 is normal. And I think 7 million people are going to lose their homes this year, and that adds up to an inventory of homes for sale of 3 years, not in months, in years. So real estate prices certainly aren't going up. How much more they'll go down remains pertains to the area. I thought that the Gulf Coast of Florida, which went down first, and it went up first, incidentally. I thought that area had bottomed out 3 or 4 months ago, but I was wrong. It's going down even more. I talked to someone who bought a $250,000 home at the peak for $70,000. And one of the best, not the top section, but one of the best sections along the Gulf, which is a very nice area to live. And so I think that we've got a ways to go here. How much more? In Florida, probably 10 to 20%. In California, you don't even want to know. State's bankrupt, has been for a long time, and 30% of the people or more are not paying taxes, and they have a tremendous amount of illegal aliens there. And so there's going to be real trouble in California.
Mr. Chairman, the initial public offering by China's bank at over $20 billion is causing a frenzy. What is this going to do to the American economy?
I don't think it'll affect it much at all. There's a lot of money now in China because they've been exporting now for 15 years to the United States, and they've made a pile of money. And so that'll be self-funded. They do have a bubble in real estate there as well because of their injection of $1.2 trillion over the last year into the economy, and they have a stock market bubble going as well. Because instead of investing the money in job-producing either services or manufacturing, most of it ended up in the stock market or in the real estate market, and the Chinese government lost control, and now they got a serious problem because the bubbles are going to break and they're going to experience what America has.
Mr. Chairman, I turn 51 next month. At the present time, my daughter and my daughter's husband and 2 children have moved into the house because they couldn't find a rental property as cheap as what they were paying on the house that they voluntarily surrendered back to the Veterans Affairs because they could not make the payments since her husband lost his job and she was laid off. I'm now a 51-year-old widower with a daughter, a son-in-law, and 2 children in a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home, and my son now wants to move in with his wife and 2 children because he's also strapped. After I paid over $200,000 for him to go to school, he's now been laid off. Anything coming in the future, thank God I own this place. Is there anything I can do in the near future to help my own family?
Well, everybody's going to have to go out and get any job they can. I spent, $200,000 educating my son, and fortunately he still has a job. And my daughter was far less expensive. She got scholarships and she got 3 degrees and all that kind of stuff. But you're going to have to help them. Everybody gets a job, no matter what it is. No matter what it is, if it's cutting lawns or cleaning cesspools or climbing light poles, it doesn't make any difference. You got to find whatever you can find to keep it going. And it's not going to get better, it's going to get worse.
A question, not a question, a statement. I guess it was a question that follows through. I can't read it all. Mr. Chapman, several months ago, you said it was going to get worse, and it's getting worse. Several months ago, you said to look out. Several months ago, you told us to invest in certain things, and I've done so, and to do so is going to get worse. Now, my neighbors up and down the street have lost their homes. There used to be 20 families on my street with nice jobs, nice homes, and 6 months ago, one house was foreclosed, then a second, then a third. Now it's me and one other person with 12 foreclosed homes in the neighborhood here in Las Vegas, Nevada.